Grace and peace, you guys. April Chapman here with the Standard of Truth podcast. I wanted to just record this video really quickly as a sequel to the last video I did critiquing the Vivek Ramaswamy interview on The Breakfast Club. I believe Vivek Ramaswamy, he cracked the code on one of the reasons why the black community is last, but I believe he mentioned this one key element in that interview that if we were discerning and we're truly listening for policies that would be good for black people, in that Breakfast Club interview, Vivek Ramaswamy, he dropped a serious nugget during the interview while Tezlyn had her needle stuck on stupid. Vivek explained in this one interview the one thing that black people can control that has the ability to lift us up as a community out of poverty, but I can guarantee you, Charlamayne missed it. We already know Tezlyn missed it because, in fact, she never engaged with it in any meaningful way. And we already knew that DJ Envy missed it too because he was too busy being a beta male simp. So anyway, it's irrelevant. But do you want to know how Vivek Ramaswamy cracked the code? Ramaswamy cracked the code by talking about school choice, right? So Ramaswamy is a huge advocate for school choice, and Democrats, unfortunately, by and large, they are overwhelmingly against school choice because they're in bed with the teachers' unions, right? So they spend a lot of money, a lot of lobbyists spend a lot of money, and the Democratic Party gives a lot of money to the teachers' union. So they will never, as a party, support school choice. But I knew Tezlyn wasn't going to even touch that subject because she's a socialist. Like, you work on Bernie Sanders' campaign, you are already telling on yourself that you are a Marxist, socialist-minded person. And for people like that, the government is God, right? So that's going to include the government the government indoctrination system, right? I made a mistake and actually called it education. It's the government indoctrination system. So what is school choice and how does it benefit black people? Like, why is that one thing that I am saying that black people can control that's going to have bearings not only on this current generation, but generations to come, right? How does school choice benefit and impact the black community? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. So this video is not about school choice, but let me just give you just a inner look. When you look at the inner city, which is code for the hood a lot of times, but what is it that you see? What is it that you notice? When we examine inner cities, we notice that all of the schools are trash, right? Practically none of the students can read at grade level. They cannot do math. And the ones that manage to graduate, when they head off to college, they're spending the vast majority of those first 2 years in remedial courses because they haven't really been prepared to handle college level coursework. So basically, you're paying for glorified high school those first 2 years of college. Now, aside from the poor performance in these inner city schools, what you cannot do is say, April, it's a money issue. These schools, they don't have the money, to properly educate these kids. But before you go there and you try to say it's a money problem, let me help you out. I'm going to demonstrate to you that that's simply not true. First of all, Baltimore City schools, they receive more money per student, and they are the fourth most funded large school system in the nation, right? So Baltimore City schools, they receive $1.6 billion. $1.6 billion, which comes out to $21,606 per student. As of 2022, the city school budget has ballooned to 1.6 billion. And that is like $230 million more than what they had the previous school year's budget. The previous school budget, they had like 1.3 billion, right? So that's an increase of like 16%. But here's the kicker. Enrollment in Baltimore City schools, it's going down, and it's been going down for years. So that means you have a lot more money going to fewer students, yet the kids still can't read. I have been homeschooling. Like, I'm a homeschooling mom, right? So I've been homeschooling my children since the beginning. Oldest is 15, the youngest is 11. That's all they know. My husband and I, we foot their educational costs out of pocket every year, every single school year. We spend our own hard-earned money securing the curriculum that we deem will be best for our kids, right? I ain't never spent 21 grand a year on one kid. I haven't even spent 21 grand in all the years that I've been educating with all of my children combined. Like, that's just an insane amount of money. Now, with school choice, money is allocated, and that money follows the child. So that means, in an inner city school example, let's take Shaniqua. Let's say Shaniqua can take that money that's designated for educational use, and she can use that money to attend a private school. She can send her child to a charter school, or she can homeschool her child. Whichever one, her choice. And we already have a state that has school choice. They already have it, and they are killing the game. And that state is Florida. Black folks overwhelmingly supported school choice in Florida because Ron DeSantis promised it, and he delivered on that campaign promise. Now, his opponent at the time, Booty Cheeks Andrew Gillum, he was completely against school choice. And what the American Federation of Children, a group that I support, the American Federation of Children worked tirelessly to educate the Black community on how school choice was the key. It was the missing link to what their kids needed to just put them on a path and a trajectory to greatness. Now, Florida is now, by far, the largest jurisdiction to offer universal school choice. And what has happened since they've implemented this program is standardized tests have gone up, suspensions and absentee rates have declined, and the lower income kids who were in poor performing schools are doing better than they were before the program was initiated. And before you tell me or ask me, well, if they take all the good kids out of school, what's going to happen to all the kids that's left? Well, schools learn to compete and do better, or they remain schools that suck. It's called competition. And that is what Vivek Ramaswamy was trying to explain to the Breakfast Club. This is important because Ramaswamy was giving the Breakfast Club the cheat code that is a proven solution to improve the outcomes of the next generation. But they was too focused on his middle school record, right? Just like brain dead leftists always do. They never focus on the solutions or any legitimate results. All they want to do is virtual signal and whine and complain and be combative. Now, something that Mr. Ramaswamy did that I just completely admired, and I find that it's missing, not just in our broader culture, but just in the political landscape in general, was that he actually accepted accountability for a lot of things. He accepted accountability for the fact that he was not civically engaged early on in life. So if the man is telling you, listen, I wasn't really that civically engaged, and I didn't vote for the first time to 2020, like, he's already laying out, this is who I am, these are my cards. What more do you want? He already explained why. Or if A smart person would have figured out, well, he really wasn't civically engaged because he was busy. Like, he's accomplished a lot in his 37 years of living. But we're so used to career politicians like Joe Biden, that when someone of substance with actual accomplishments and they've proven themselves to actually just get something done, we honestly, we don't know what to do with that. We just like, okay, so now what? We're just stuck. But here's something a little controversial, but it needs to be said. But in the Indian culture, and even in the Asian culture, they don't tend to, for the most part, you don't really see them getting caught up in politics. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw a bunch of Indians and Asians, right, marching and just tearing up the streets demanding something? Right? Like, you don't see that. And you want to know why? It's because they're too busy on their grind, right? They're too busy actually building biotech companies and developing medicines and adding value to the marketplace, creating products and services that we actually use and consume and give no thought to. Someone had to design this and create this and come up with the processes and the application and tools. Like, someone made this, but we don't think about it like that because we just lived in a privileged nation. But they spend their time creating and building and providing things of use and of substance for the world to enjoy. Like, do you know who the CEO and co-founder of Wayfair is? You're probably like, no, like, why would I know that? Well, it's okay. I'm going to tell you. So his name is Niraj Shah. Mr. Shah is an Indian American from Massachusetts. He's the son of an immigrant. Like, his parents are from India. He's first generation born here. He went to Cornell. His daddy worked for General Motors, and after his retirement, went to work for his son at Wayfair. Like, his daddy still works for Wayfair. Hear me clearly. When I look at that interview, I am not saying that community service is not valuable, right? I'm not saying that at all. But people like Ramaswamy and others in the Indian and Asian community, and just people who don't spend all of their time majoring on the minors, they don't spend their time obsessing over the inconsequential. Why? Because they're too busy with their heads down, focused on getting the bag, focused on creating generational wealth for their families, as opposed to being stuck on stupid and focusing on the shallow and the silly. It really bothered me that Tezlyn failed to learn a thing or two from the bioengineer because she was just too shallow and too silly and just prideful and arrogant to see it right there in front of her face. Just too stupid to see it overwhelmingly. But the Indian community, the Asian community, they're able to amass generational wealth in one generation. While we're out here worried about what somebody was doing in high school and in middle school. Like, we're too busy. And I'm saying I don't think like that. So I really need to stop saying we. Y'all are too busy focusing on the virtues and obsessed with just the trophy of a shallow middle school accomplishment rather than the substance. You lack the fortitude and the purview to focus on the substance. Don't nobody care what he was doing in middle school but you, Tezlyn. Like, I don't even care what he was doing in high school, and I might care a little bit about what he was doing in college. But the question is, why does that even matter? The man presented a well laid out vision that, if followed, could prove to benefit not just all Americans, but particularly the highly melanated ones. But when we're too stuck on stupid, we can't see that because we'd rather focus on representation and, we're not going to, like Charlamayne was like, we're not going to be able to get ahead without affirmative action. Like, you think that little of your own people, that you don't believe that we have the capacity or the ability to compete on the basis of our own merit. I keep telling y'all, the Afrostocracy don't care nothing about you. They're up here, but you're not able to compete on your own merits and just get ahead. They are literally telling you what they think about you without saying what they think about you. It's how they speak about you and how they speak about our inabilities and how, without somebody just picking us because we black, we wouldn't be able to get ahead. That really pissed me off. But because we'd rather focus on the representation and the titles and things that have no value, we just sat and bypassed the substance. This is why the black community stays stuck, and how Ramaswamy was cracking so many codes, just giving us the cheat codes on, if you just do this, this can happen. But we are too emotional, and we idolize this skin color that we're in so much that we fail to learn from what's working for other cultures. Because for some reason, we just think that it ain't going to work for us. This is why we're last. Focused on the shallow and the silly, as opposed to the substance of the argument. What Vivek Ramaswamy has accomplished is there substance to it? I would say that it is. Because dumb people don't build successful corporations, right? Dumb people don't develop life-saving medications and pharmaceuticals. And if we were really paying attention to that interview, we'd be like, wait a minute. Do you know how much money it costs to get an FDA drug approved? I mean, that conversation, when I reflect back on it, that conversation was so above her. But because she couldn't engage with it in a meaningful way, she just had to bring it down to her gutter-minded level. And it was just, the argumentation was juvenile and dumb and ignorant. And I know those are not pleasant words, right? Those are not words that are positive and that reflect niceness. They don't. But it's the truth. Because people like Vivek Ramaswamy, the black community needs to hear more from people like him. People like him, we need him on these platforms like the Breakfast Club, because one, he wasn't afraid to go on the platform and just challenge these dumb ideas, because the ideas are dumb. And if more people challenge these dumb ideas, the Democratic Party would not have the stronghold and the foothold of the hearts and minds of the black people like they do. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Do you think that Ramaswamy gave the Breakfast Club several cheat codes? Or are you like, no, I don't think he did, but it was good to hear what he had to say? Like, I'm curious to know what you think. Because when we think about school choice and how I'm a product of school choice, and I know what it's like to be in a poor performing school and to be given the opportunity to go to a better school, and how it just changes your whole outlook and mindset. So I'm curious to know, do you think he cracked the code on why the black community is last? What nuggets of truth did you see in that interview that you could glean from to be like, you know what? I'm going to adopt this one thing and I'm just going to see where it takes me. Leave me a comment and let me know. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to this video. Grace and peace.